Hi, everybody. Thank you, Rick, and thanks for everyone for being here for the 34th Sportscasters Awards ceremony. We have a great show, as always, and some surprises in store as well. And I was thinking just a minute ago before I walked in the room, I love this gathering, and I love it so much because I'm not so much a fan of sports, which anybody that knows me knows that I am. But I am a fan of sportscasters, and it's great to see you guys. I love you all. I always feel that it's important to tell you about our organization, which started back in 1958 in order to allow equal access for the electronic media as opposed to the print media, which was allowed into the clubhouses after games before the electronic media. And Tom Harmon, who was the first president of the Sportscasters Association here in Southern California, went to Walter O'Malley and said, that's not fair, because by the time we get in there, all these guys are showered and they're gone. We want to get into the locker room after the game with the print media so we can get our stories and get our sound and have it ready to go the next morning or even that night. And Walter O'Malley, in his forward-thinking way, did exactly that, let the sportscasters in, and it's never been the same since then. And so we thank Walter O'Malley for that, and our great group of sportscasters back in 1958, all of whom have passed, our charter members who have led us to this day here today. Our club meets now here once a year to honor those who were great on our airwaves for the past year. We meet together also at sports venues around Southern California. The Dodgers and Angels give us tickets. UCLA and SC have given us tickets. We hope to get out to a Lakers or a Chargers or a Clippers game and take 60 or so of those of you who are sitting here with your families and friends to go to a ball game and sit and enjoy the day rather than in an affair where you got to wear a suit and tie. You go out and have a good day with your friends at the ballpark and chat a little bit amongst ourselves and get to know each other a little better rather than what we hear on the radio. So thanks to those teams and organizations that do that. In a sports-related movie or play might come up, and we're trying to get tickets for those as well. If you want first shot at our tickets for these events, you need to sign up as a voting member for the Sportscasters. Starting tomorrow, our membership drive for 2026 will open. It's $25 minimum donation. If you make a lot of money and you make more, you can send in more because the money goes to running an event like this, but also to the Chris Roberts Memorial Student Scholarship Fund, which we'll hear from the winner a little bit later on this afternoon. It's a great way to be on our list, a great way to come out to the ball games and enjoy our company. I'd like to thank a few people today before we get started. To Rick Cutler, who many of you know because, my God, I think he produces and engineers virtually every game in Southern California. As far as I can tell, might be the busiest guy in town. So Rick and his engineer and his group back there, and Rick and I have been partners for far too long, as far as I know, 25 years at least. And so please, a hand for Rick Cutler. Bonnie Burrow is our official club photographer. She takes pictures of today's event, gives them to the club, and we thank her for that. Of course, Justin Dado. Oh, go clap for Bonnie. 100%. There she is. Like after the show, if you want a picture with like Manny Mota or Jim Hill or something, just go to Bonnie. Bonnie, come on, let's go. Eric, we want a picture with you. I got to be wearing your jacket, though. Got to have the jacket on. Justin Dado, who could not be with us here today, sends his greetings, and he makes the show possible here at Lakeside. Caitlin Sugarman and Amanda Casillas, who has moved on to other opportunities, run the events here at Lakeside. Our thanks to our chefs and our wait staff who help set up the tables and clean up the room. Thanks to all of them, of course. And to our great organizations that support us every year by buying tables for this event, and for tremendous support to Rob Fukuzaki, Ann LaPeer, and Richard Bertain. We thank you very much. I get to work with a bunch of friends. They are friends. They've become great friends and fellow sportscasters who act as our volunteer board of directors. We don't meet in person all that much. We do call each other some, and this week we called each other a lot. They are here today. Let me introduce them to you now and have them stand, and you can see who works in this group. The Southern California Sports Broadcasters Board of Directors for 2025-26 Our newest board member in his third year as the radio voice of the Los Angeles Clippers, Carlo Jimenez. Carlo, stand up. There you go. Local and national multimedia personality, Ms. Deb Carson. Deb, where are you? There she is back there. The voice of the Cal State Northridge Matadors, Mr. Ghazal Hassan. Longtime radio personality, voice of Angel City Soccer, and a longtime radio host, Mr. Isaac Lowenkron. Isaac, where are you hiding? Back there. The voice of Cal State Fullerton Athletics, Mr. Michael Martinez. And the radio voice of the Los Angeles Kings, Mr. Josh Schaefer. Thank you, my friends, for being friends and helping us put this great day together. It takes a little bit of work, as you might imagine. Off the record, off the speech that I wrote, I have a special friend here today that I have not seen in some time. He's a great storyteller, and if you ever corner him and ask him to tell stories of back in the day, you should do that for sure. Every sportscaster needs a break. Anybody here that says they didn't get a lucky break somewhere along the way and have a fairy godmother, in my case a fairy godfather, to help you out along your way and make sure that you stay the course and move forward in the right way. He is a great benefactor of mine. He is a booster in the world of sports. As a matter of fact, he's got his damn name on a building at SC. It says Brian Kennedy Field. He is my booster and has helped me immeasurably through the years. And I want to say thank you to Brian Kennedy. No, I'm not letting him talk. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Our first award today goes to the person or team that presented the Southern California sports world with the greatest achievement of the year. It was a repeat winner from 2025, and it was not difficult to figure out who that might be. The team award, once again this time, would someone from the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers please come up and accept the 2025 Sports Achievement of the Year award. Come on, anybody, it's okay. Don't be shy. I'm going to meet him halfway. I'm not going to make him come all the way, but I want you to just for a second internalize in your heart, every time you are sad for the next year, I want you to think about the last game of the World Series. You will not be sad anymore. You want to come up and say anything? Here you go. For those of you that don't know, maybe you're too young, I don't know, that is the great Manny Mota. I grew up 5 minutes from Dodger Stadium with a couple of friends who were here today. And, you know, our moms would drop us off at the gate with a couple of bucks, buy a ticket, get a dog, get a bag of peanuts, and get a soda, and we'd be there all day. And we sat in 301 down in front, and for the better part of 10 years, I mean, Manny Mota was God. Him and Dusty. I mean, it was Bakersfield too. Let's be honest. When Manny came up, we almost could all go home because we knew what was going to happen next. Little flare to right field, game over. Good stuff. Manny, great to see you, my friend. Before we induct our first Hall of Famer of the day, I'd like to take the moment to introduce our best of the best of all time here in Southern California sports broadcasting, members of the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Hall of Fame who are here in attendance with us today. There have been 43 men and 1 woman inducted in years past. 23 of the 44 have passed away, including our great friend Eddie Arnold, who just passed away, and anyone who knew him will have a piece of their lives missing forevermore. 21 are still with us and here today. Some of them, to help us celebrate our new Hall of Famers, are, among others, a staple of our living rooms for his standout sports reporting, and we'll hear more from him later. Please say hello to Hall of Famer Jim Hill. Where'd he go? There he is. Another stalwart of our sports television broadcasters here in Southern California, a strong supporter of the Southern California sports broadcasters. I haven't laid my eyes on him, so I'm not positive he's here. Rob Fukuzaki. Rob, are you here today? I don't see him. He's not standing, so apparently not. Okay. The radio voice of the Lakers and a Hall of Famer along with his partner Steve Mason of the Mason and Ireland show, Hall of Famer John Ireland. Longtime Spanish language voice in Southern California for several teams, mainly with the Lakers, Hall of Famer Pepe Mantilla. There he is back there. One of the Mount Rushmore of play-by-play announcers here in Southern California. A gracious man and a great talent, longtime Spanish language voice of the Dodgers, Jaime Jarrín. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I just didn't lay my eyes on you. I've got the list of names. I just tried to check them off as I went. Time now, then, for the Southern California sports broadcasters. We are proud to induct into our Hall of Fame the late Mr. Brad Pye, Jr. Here to handle those duties once again, the voice of CSUN, Ghazal Hassan. Easy now.
Well, thanks to all for coming. We got a full room today, so we appreciate you guys all coming out for this for our luncheon this year. Start off. There we go. So, founding father, pioneer, trailblazer are 3 words that have been used to describe Brad Pye Jr. In his July 2020 obituary, the LA Times termed him the first black sportscaster in the Los Angeles market, coming in the 50s when that electronic media thing was starting to get going. Our story begins in Plain Dealing, Louisiana, when at the age of 12, he hopped a train to Los Angeles, giving $5 to a friend to get him passage on that freight train. And in an interview he later termed, he said, "I ran away from home at 12 because I didn't get along with my stepfather." So Jefferson High School, East LA College, Cal State LA, and then a short stint in the Marines where he served down in the San Diego area before he got his first sports job. It was at the LA Sentinel between 1955 and 59. And when he was in high school, he did a column called Scholastic Scribblings, and a writer that he had admired would always have a pen behind his ear. So Brad Pye Jr. took to having a pen or a pencil behind his ear. And then after that, 25 years in radio primarily, he continued to write his column at the Sentinel and worked at KGFJ, KACE, KLSH, and K-Day, doing various sports reports. It started off with a 15-minute nightly or a weekly 15-minute sports report, which expanded into they wanted him, hey, we want you 5 days a week for about a 5-minute sport report, so 25 minutes over the week spread over the 5 days. And he also had several interesting we call them side hustles now, but side gigs, where he was a PR representative for the Los Angeles Angels when they moved to the city in 1961. He had forged a friendship with the great Al Davis, who I know probably is going to be mentioned in Steve's speech at some point. At USC, actually, he he and Brad Pye Jr. first connected when Mr. Davis was an assistant at USC, and that relationship blossomed with the Chargers and the Raiders. And later, he handled public relations for Al Davis when Al Davis was president of the AFL. The other interesting thing about Brad Pye Jr. is after the sports aspect of it, he also served in public service for the County of Los Angeles, serving Ken Hahn, Yvonne Braithwaite Burke as well, before returning to the Sentinel as a sports writer or sports editor emeritus from 2011 till shortly before the time of his passing in 2020. Among the people who he influenced, Ken Miller, a longtime columnist for the Sentinel, credits Brad Pye Jr. as being one of his mentors. One of our former, I think, President's Awards winners, Tommy Hawkins, when he was a Laker, credited Brad Pye Jr. with getting him into the media game as well. And then a colleague of mine, Evan Barnes, who for many years was with the LA Daily News, he's now doing amazing things with the New York Newsday, covering the New York Giants. Kind of later in his tenure at the Sentinel, kind of took Evan under his wing. I want to acknowledge a couple people. I think Raymond Bell is here today, and his producing partner, Doug Harris. They produced a film about the umpire Emmett Ashford it's a Called Up documentary available on, you can go see it online. I think there's a PBS deal pending, is that right? So we got some footage of Brad Pye Jr. He was instrumental in helping Emmett Ashford kind of on his journey. I think Emmett Ashford, also a local Los Angeles guy. And then his connection to USC, Bryce Taylor had been an All-American at USC but wasn't acknowledged in any of the literature until Brad Pye Jr. got involved. And then the final thing also was, it was mid to late 50s, the Coliseum press box wasn't yet fully integrated, and Brad Pye Jr., with the help of Ken Hahn and some other folks, were able to get it integrated. It was very interesting because at that time, UCLA and USC both played at the Coliseum, so it was a really, really big deal for that. We're going to watch a quick video of Brad Pye Jr., and then we will have his family. 3 of his daughters are here to accept his Hall of Fame induction. Without any further ado, more about Brad Pye Jr.
One of the first people and newsmen that I met was Brad Pye Jr.
Every time I said switch reels, I was going to another different subject. I just adopted it, and people remember me not as Brad Pye Jr., but switch reels.
I don't ever remember a sports highlight show that had high school clips on it. And really, when you talk about pioneers, Brad Pye Jr. highlighting those people on the radio in his column really was a predecessor to what we see now.
We finally went before the entire Coliseum Commission, and they told us no. Only one person stood up for us. That was Kenny Hahn. Kenny Hahn said, "I am ashamed to be on this commission when my friend Leon Washington's sports editor can't sit in this publicly owned Coliseum press box, and I'm gonna see what I can do about it."
And Brad Pye took me under his wings and helped me to become the professional that I have become over these years. And I owe so much to Brad Pye because he saw something in me that I didn't know that I had in myself.
Thank you. So Jan Pye, Jill Pye, and Janice Pye Cronkite, Brad's daughters, are here to accept the induction on his behalf, and they're going to say a few words.
I'm not going to cry. I'm going to say first, Jim Hill, I fell in love with you. On TV, and I'll keep my distance. Gazelle, thank you very much. I like you. I like you. My sisters told me that the oldest sister would make the comments. So this is my 3-minute Toastmaster speech. I am with my sisters, Janice and Jill, and my brother Brad Pye III, who is in heaven with Daddy. And a close friend, Albert Miles, is also here. My daddy would say, switch reels, pretty little green ones, and thanks for your time. This is all of my time and me. Have a ball. I wasn't that much into sports. My sisters were. My daughters are, but not me. So for those that did not know my dad, I will tell you not about his day job, but his job as a father. Daddy brought us compassion. When I was 5 years old, we were walking downtown Los Angeles going to an event. I asked my daddy, why did you give that man money? You don't even know him. My father said, I have been there, and now I'm not. So I'm sharing now with someone else. My father took us to the library when I was 6. My brother and sister, twins, were there. I said, Niecy and Brad, they can't read. Why are they going with us? He said, I'm teaching you to read. And through the work of these jobs, he always checked our homework. And if we made a mistake, he would wake us up no matter what time. It could be 2:30 in the morning to make us correct the mistake. That didn't happen too many times, so our homework was always perfect. He used to say, you are going to make your work perfect. If I do 3,000 newspapers, that's 3,000 mistakes. You're not going to make one. When I first purchased my home, the realtor was stressed because I've read everything. Well, we do this all the time. I know, but my father told me I have to read everything. We are extremely proud of the Southern California sportscaster honoring our daddy, Brad Pye Jr., and the other esteemed awardees of the Hall of Fame. We too honor our father in our hearts and just wanted to share something with you. As Daddy would say, thank you for your time. This is all of my time. Have a ball.
Jeff, can you guys? Up next is Michael Martinez.
Oh, thank you. Before I start giving out my awards, I'd like to identify two of my fellow Titans out there. Mr. Everywhere from the world champion Dodgers, Jose Mota, great Titan. And you also hear his name at the end of every Dodger radio broadcast when David Vassay says the studio coordinator, Mr. Colin Yee. You know the name. There's the face over there. All right, two great Titans. Titans are all around you. The SCSB Award for Radio Analyst, the finalists are Sean Cody, USC Football, Michael Thompson, Lakers Radio, Matt Stevens, UCLA Football, and the SCSB Award for Best Radio Analyst goes to Sean Cody, USC Football. Come up here, Big Sean. First time winner, Sean Cody.
I'm so prepared for this great award. Yeah, how's it going? Here's my award. So I came here, I think I've been up for the award 2 or 3 times, 4 times maybe, Pete. And it was always against Rick Monday. So whenever I came to this award, I was, I didn't have really high hopes to win anything. So I would sit here and Rick Monday would get the award and I'd say, congratulations, Rick Monday. But I didn't really mean it, I was just kind of, good job, Rick Monday, yeah. But this year, when I knew it was Matt Stevens and Michael Thompson, I said, hey, I got to put on a show this year. I'm not going to fool around this year in the booth with Pete. I'm going to take this serious this year. And I trained hard this year. So I want to thank my great co-host, Pete Arbogast. I want to thank Jordan Moore, who's sitting right next to me over there, our field guy. Rick Cutler, who's here. Gia Lares, our producer. The whole team at USC. Tim Teslone, I know he's not here, but Tim Teslone got me this gig a couple years ago. John Jackson, who I don't think he's here either, but was the man before me. So thank you guys. This is a incredible honor. I will cherish this, and it'll go right next to my high school MVP award.
Thank you very much. Go take a picture. First time's always the best, right, Sean? All right, next up, the Chick Hearn Best Radio Play-by-Play Award, and this is an important position throughout LA. People spend 2-3 hours in their cars in traffic, so having the great play-by-play guys that we do in LA, very important, and these are very worthy finalists. John Ireland from the Lakers. J.B. Long from the Rams, still alive in the NFL playoffs. And Tim Neverett from the world champion Dodgers. The Chick Hearn Award goes to John Ireland. Congratulations, John.
Thank you, everybody, for this. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was a little kid who didn't sleep. I still don't sleep. So when I was, 9 or 10 years old, my mom was yelling at me, go to bed, go to bed. And when I tell this story, most people, I have to explain to them what a transistor radio is. I'm comfortable in this crowd that you all know what it is. Maybe Carlos Jimenez doesn't know, but everybody older than him knows what a transistor radio is. I would put it under my pillow and put my head on the pillow so I could hear Chick Hearn call the Laker games. And now I have Chick Hearn's job, and I just won the Chick Hearn Award. So I never take this stuff for granted, ever. And I'm honored to be here among all of you. I love being a sportscaster in LA. I'm going to cut it short because I get to come back up here later and talk about my friend Jim Hill. But just know that this is very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Way to go, Johnny. As president of the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Association, I have a few pleasures each year. One is to call or visit with our new Hall of Famers to let them hear the news firsthand. They're never upset by this news. Also to call the top 3 and sometimes 4 at each on-air category to let them know that they are a finalist. Nobody seems to be upset by that either. Another honor is the opportunity to acknowledge someone as the winner of the President's Award. I'm the president, I get to name the President's Award winner. And that someone this year is my good friend, the coach, Harvey Hyde. I got to tell him on his radio show, geez, it was last October or November. It's a long time you got to live with this before you got here. And for the first time in his life, Harvey was at a loss for words. He actually shut up and he didn't know what to say. It was great. An all-league and all-conference football player at Pasadena High and PCC. He later coached at Pasadena City College, where his teams won 2 conference championships. He went on to become head coach at UNLV, won a conference title in 1984. And not many coaches in college football could make this claim. Harvey Hyde has a winning record in his career as a head coach in college football. That's pretty good. But this is not for coaching. That's not why he's being honored here today. For as long as I've known him, he has been a radio man, pre-games, post-games, guest host, talk show host, using usually his own equipment, clearing his own network, selling the show, being his own show runner and getting guests, being a producer, selling his own ads, booking guests, hosting the show. Harvey Hyde is a one-man band. He tells it like it is. He holds nothing back. He speaks truth to power. He's highly regarded as a guest speaker and a guest on shows and podcasts for exactly that reason. He can say things that other people can't say for fear of losing their jobs. By no means is Harvey the only person humping it to get his work and his words heard. This award is two-pronged then, Coach, to honor you, of course, but to also honor all of those who you represent in this business. Those who love what they do, no matter where on the totem pole they might land. Those who have the fire and the desire that burns within, and that alone makes him and them worthy. Please welcome a friend of this business and of sportscasting, a real talent, and my friend, the winner of the Southern California Sports Broadcasters President's Award, Mr. Harvey Hyde. Words. Let me get my program out of here.
Well, let me tell you, standing up here is sort of a surprise when he told me. My kids, my daughter here, Katie, and my wife said, make it short. Because they know that I can ramble off and start talking like I do on a podcast, and I have the commercial time and the breaks when I want to, and all the different things, but I'm up here because of people that have helped me. I'm up here because I was lucky enough to be on a freeway where there was a lot of off-ramps, and I just happened to get off on the right one. I was a kid that grew up in the middle of the tracks, didn't have much desire to do much of anything except be a part of sports. Sports was my entire life. It got me and kept me eligible in high school. It kept me eligible in community college. It got me a scholarship to move on so I could continue playing football. And along the way, it introduced me to a lot of great people, coaches, and people who really steered me in the right direction. And when I got spanked, I deserved it because I knew they loved me. And I took that same approach when I did my coaching. You've got to let someone know you love them first before you spank them. And then they'll let you spank them all you can because they know you care. The number one thing, the way I discipline my players, was that they come into my office, we're going to call you mom, or we're going to call your dad, or we're going to call your grandma, and we're going to tell them exactly what happened today. And they would say, please, Coach, don't do that. And I'd say, we're going to do that because when I recruited you, I promised them that I always would let them know what's going on in your life. They raised you for 18 years, and they certainly deserve to know exactly where you stand right now. You've missed study hall. You're not practicing hard. I've got to tell them that because I made a commitment to them that you would graduate from college and you would be as good a person at the end that you were when you started. We love you. And we created relationships, and along the highway, I recruited a lot of players that a lot of universities didn't want because of either attitude or size or speed or whatever. But I was able to motivate those kids and put them in a place where they could be successful in life, an opportunity. I want to tell you, a lot of them didn't graduate, but I'll tell you, their kids did. Because they knew what the opportunity was to go to a college and be able to know what it was to meet people from different walks of life, and they did not want their kids to not have the experience of going to college, but yet graduating from college. I learned from the best. I had the best supporting cast anywhere, which started with my wife, who was willing to work with me. And every time that I had an opportunity to move to a job, she would say, okay, here we go again, and we'd have to move. But she was willing to do that. We had just had our daughter, Katie, and we packed her up at 6 months old, and away we went off to the University of Hawaii. There for a new experience, but we were willing to make a commitment to win. I approach life as game day is every day. Have a winning day. I approach my day as right here, that it's 4th and 1. What are we going to do? And I try to make that my lifestyle through my entire life, in love, in toughness, in telling you the truth when I'm broadcasting. And as Pete said, don't ask me a question because I'm going to tell you the right answer. I want to congratulate my man back there that won the broadcasting award for color side. I'm telling you, that's what a football player looks like. I mean, do you think I'd have a tough time motivating him? I wouldn't have to tell him anything. He's been on my show a couple of times. It's an honor. It's an honor to know you and have you on the show. There's some people that want it more than others. Do you know what I mean? There's some people that just want it more than others. And they're willing to make that sacrifice to let it happen. And I think that's what I did. When I was in coaching, I started in high school. I went to the community colleges. I went as assistant coach to Hawaii. I came back as a head coach at Pasadena City College. I knew what it was to experience all levels of coaching. I thought it made me a better person because I knew what it was to have a car wash. And I knew what it was to buy a pair of shoes for somebody. They weren't supplied for them. So when I lost my job at UNLV, as Jerry Tarkanian lost his job because we won too much, because people were envious and so on, I said, you know, I love what I do so much, I got to find another field. But I don't know if I want to go back into coaching because you can have a great job. I recruited all these kids to college, and now I have to go out and talk to them and tell them, I'm now going to practice what I preach to you every day. If you get knocked down, you get back up, and just because I'm not here doesn't mean you can't win and achieve your goals. So I took that same lesson that I told them, and I moved down the highway, and I went over to KDWN Radio. They were carrying the Dodgers in Southern California. I went in and talked to the owner of the station, Claire Reese. I said, Claire, I want to do a radio show. And she said, what do you know about radio? I said, absolutely nothing. Just like coaching, I do nothing. But I said, just give me 1 hour. 1 hour and let me learn. Give me a board op because I don't know anything about board. I don't know anything. She says, okay, we'll give you a shot. So she sold me an hour. And fortunately, in Las Vegas, I knew a lot of people where I went to Coors and I went to this and that. And I said, would you please sponsor me? And they sponsored. So that was where the seed was planted. Somehow, they liked what I was talking about, and it went from 1 hour to 2 hours to 3 hours to whatever it was, and it became now a real job. Because I believe you prepare for a show like you prepare for a game. If you don't prepare for a show, you're not doing your job. Don't try to wing it, but you got to win. Every show they got to turn off and say, hey, that was a great job. I learned a lot tonight. Or whatever the score was, or the enthusiasm, or he wasn't all there, or he didn't really believe what he said. You got to be really focused and believe in what you say. So I took that, and we moved 1 hour of that show to the Burger Continental in Pasadena. I don't know if you guys remember the Burger Continental in Pasadena, but we all went in there. Everybody ate there. If you're in this room, you know where it was, but he invited everybody. I mean, we had Justin Dato, Tommy Lasorda, you name them, they all ate there because we ate here for free. So it was a great spot to have a show and so on. So I started there. And one night, Mike Garrett walked in and was sitting there listening to the show. Came the next Sunday, was listening to the show with his kids, Daniel and his daughter and his wife. And after the show, he called me over and he says, hey, Harv, I learned more damn things about my athletic department here on your show than I do when I'm at work. He says, I would like you to call Jose Eskenazi, and I'm going to talk to him tomorrow, and I want you to be a part of our pregame show. And this was years ago. So I said, thank you, that's a great opportunity. Thank you very much. And by the way, on the next Monday, Jose Eskenazi called me, because if you know Mike Garrett, when he tells you to do something, you better do it. And he did it. And I knew I could not let Mike Garrett down. He was giving me a break. So that's when I was introduced to Steve Mason. And I don't know if Steve's in the room or not, but Steve and I had a lot of fun on the stage. We had a stage right there in the peristyle side. 2 hours before the game, the regular pregame show, we were on 2 hours before. And it was a stage, and kids and people were around, the players, the parents, everybody. I was kissing babies. The team walked by. It was tremendous. It was a tremendous experience, but I had a lot of help with Steve Mason. From that experience, we did that 8, 10 years. Then the Rams came onto the station, and that sort of changed everything in SC's philosophy of what they wanted to do. During that period of time, we did a show called Trojan Brunch. Do you remember that on Sunday mornings, Trojan Brunch, 8 to 10? Most of you weren't even born then. But that was a great show. It was sort of like a psychologist I was every Sunday. People would call, God darn this and God darn that, and Coach, I'd say, are you through? You want to say some more? So I'd let them vent, and then I'd tell them what I thought. Then I remember in the press conference one day, when Lane Kiffin was doing a press conference, he was asked, well, what do you think about this? He says, why don't you just ask Harvey Hyde? He knows more about it than I do. So I knew people were listening. So it was what I wanted to get by to the people of what I thought was right, what I thought was wrong. It's just my opinion. You do what you want to do. But this has sort of been my success story as far as telling the truth. When I left ESPN, I went over to KLAA, the Angel station. And I want to thank them very much for giving me the opportunity to be on Sunday mornings from 10 to 11, sometimes 10 to 12, depending if we have to be changed because of the Raiders games. And a gentleman in this room who Pete Arbogast mentioned a moment ago, Brian Kennedy, I went to Brian Kennedy. I said, Brian, I want to do a show. I want to move my show. And he says, well, what does it take? I need a title sponsor. And Brian Kennedy says, do it. Didn't even ask me what it costs. He said, do it. And when someone told me that, you know what I said? I'm going to do it. Just like I said I'm going to do it, 4th and 1. I'm not going to do a thing to injure him in any way because he believes in me. And he can call me at any time, and I'm there to help him. So, Brian, thank you very much for that. Then also I was able to keep a lot of my sponsors from Las Vegas. And it's amazing. If you listen to my show, it's Boyd Gaming, South Point Casino. It's all of the guys that I've known for so many years who just still keep sponsoring. I call Coors Beer, and I'm not trying to make a joke here. I say, it's time to renew. Okay, go ahead. I said, do you want to know what time I'm on or what station it is? Doesn't make any difference, because we know you're going to give us more than our money's worth. And that's the type of attitude that I try to take. And I don't know how many sales departments work like I do. I'll call a client, and I'll say, my wife is saying I've talked long enough, but I'm not listening to her today. But I'll tell my client, if you don't have any money in your budget, I'm going to run your spots anyway. And I tell you what, when they do have money, who do they call? They call you. So that's been my style. That's who I am. I'm only as good as the people that surround me. It's been that way my whole life, from coaches to players to engineers to the people who have given me an opportunity. And I don't know how to thank you enough. I respect all of you. I want to congratulate all of you that are getting awards today. I appreciate how tough it is, because I know your business now, and I appreciate how hard it is to be good. So thank you very much.
I'm going to set a precedent right now that we've never done before. I'm the damn president. I can do whatever I want. So I told Harvey last November about that award, and I've already decided who the President's Award winner is for next year at this banquet. And so we're going to announce that now, so he got a whole year to percolate about this thing. As many of you know, I'm very involved still, some 50-something years after the fact, with my high school, Marshall High, over here in Griffith Park in Los Feliz. Any Marshall people here? No? Oh, there's a couple. There's a couple right here. And I am their school sports historian. I do public address announcing for the football team. I help out wherever I can still at my high school, and I'm proud to do so. And many of you all went to high school. Many of you know that guy in your high school, right? Raise your hand if you know that guy that is in your high school that helps out. He's the old guy hanging around the sports department, and he does public address announcing, and he does some stats, and he thinks he's a coach on the field during the football games. He's that guy. There's one of those at every school, just about every school, and they're so important. And so I'm going to honor one of those guys here next year with the President's Award. He has no effing idea this is coming right now, but he does right now because I already talked about it. The President's Award winner for the Southern California Sports Broadcasters, he'll accept his award in January of 2027 from Glendale High School, Mr. Spiro Saltis.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here. Thanks John for always teaching me something. I did drive myself here, just got my permit, so I'm super excited. Working on a license. I'm here to present the Best Spanish Language Analyst Award. This is a super important award. Obviously, over 50% of the population here in Los Angeles is Latino, so a lot of Spanish listeners, and really important that we're able to find a way to give those people a voice with these special names. We'll go with the finalists. Ricardo Lopez from the Rams. Pepe Mantilla from the Lakers. And Alex Naveja from USC football. And the award goes to Pepe Mantilla of the Lakers. Pepe. Man, they knew they were all going to win. They sat at the same table. Look at them.
Hi, everybody. I am Pepe Mantilla, and you're not. I thank all the people that voted for me. Thank you very, very much. I always say the same thing. God has been really good to me. I'm a very lucky guy. And I mean, like, today is like seeing Mr. Dickerson right there. It's like, wow, you know. Really, seriously. And I just thank God for this, and thank you very, very much.
What a legend. All right, now we'll do Best Spanish Language Play-by-Play. Our nominees are Adrian Garcia Marquez from the Chargers, Jose Mota from the Dodgers, Harry Ruiz from USC Football, and Pepe Iniguez from the Dodgers. And the winner for Best Spanish Language Play-by-Play, Jose Mota from the Los Angeles Dodgers.
So you talk about being blessed and being that Dodger kid and being that LA kid, that's me. And for 20 plus years, I got to come here and enjoy this luncheon with so many faces from the past and the present as an angel. But you know what? There's nothing like being a Dodger. And on top of that, I'm so blessed for the fact that, as you were mentioning, this city is so dynamic. I mean, there's so many things to do and communicate with, and I get a chance, thanks to the Angels, first of all, and now for the Dodgers, to allow me to be one of the few in the world that can communicate the same day with two different audiences and let me know, you always let me know how much it means to you, but it means the world to me to hear people say, well, now that te oímos en español, vamos a ponerte en inglés. It really means a lot to me to be able to, first of all, have my dad here today. And be able to take that message from the players, the organization, our history, and the many blessings that we have to the people every single day. So, en español, en inglés, thank you very much, muchas gracias. Without forgetting that this all started in the same booths that I get to work in today. Think about that. I grew up in the laps of Vince Scully and the great Jaime Jarrín right there. So as Stephen Nelson, my good partner, all the Dodger presidents here today, thank you so much, AM 570, Sportsnet LA, muchas gracias. But I don't want to forget one thing, that besides the fact that we're communicating now in español and inglés, arigato gozaimasu.
Dave, you're up. The late Chris Roberts was the Sportscasters president for a good long while, as well as a multi-time award winner here. He passed away a few years ago, and we renamed the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Student Scholarship in his name. Here again this year to present this year's award is Chris's son. He worked with his old man in the press box in UCLA and still works there today. Please welcome Dave LaPeer.
Wow, man. I'm just absolutely amazed to just look out in the room and just see how many people that I know personally and professionally and people that know my family. I just want to thank everybody just straight off from the top, just for all your support for my old man, my family, and all that sort of stuff. And it just means the world to me. The one thing about my father that he never really talked about was how much he liked to give back to other people and help other people that are just starting out in broadcasting. When he came out here, he was born out here in 1949. His family came out here on the GI Bill, which they were giving away homes for about half the price to GIs that fought in World War II. And this is back before there was any professional baseball or any football or anything like that. I think they did have the Angels playing at maybe the old Wrigley Field in LA, if that's right. And I looked over at Steve because I know he'd know if I'm right. And so he had also, as the Dodgers moved out here in the 50s, he had also fell asleep, just like John Arlen was talking about. He'd fall asleep listening to Vince Scully, Chick Hearn as well, and those were his idols, and he wanted to make sure that, that he was able to do that. He also came from hate to say it, sorry, Dad, came from kind of a rough family environment. So his parents would be fighting, they'd be walking around with the tape recorder and announcing the fighting that would be going on. Dad takes a right. Now they're rolling around on the ground. Okay, now it looks like there's going to be a wrestling move and a scissor lift or something, or a scissor kick. I mean, he would actually announce it. We still have those tapes. When he passed away, we have those tapes in our house, at my mom's house. So we're able to listen to him and stuff like that. But he would actually listen to him and critique himself and make sure he was enunciating properly and this and that. And he was something else in regards to that. But that was the one thing that he wanted to make sure that he was able to pass on what he had known to people that want to be in that similar position. And we were lucky for him to be able to just even be in broadcasting, even when he was doing Cal State Fullerton and Cal Poly. There was people like Chris Schenkel, part of the LA radio scene, Johnny K, that had given back to him. He also was a DJ at some of the famous DJ stations that are around the LA area. And back then you had to work out in the outskirts and work your way in. They didn't have, podcasts and all that sort of stuff to get into the LA market. And, it was just one of those things where if you quizzed him on a song from the 1950s to about the early 70s, he knows exactly how long it is because he knows how long it would take for him to leave the mic, have to get to the bathroom and come back and get to the next song. If you're a broadcaster, you could probably relate. What's the first thing you do when you get into a press box? You want to know where the food's at, you want to know where the bathroom's at. So anyway, on all that, he was just really giving in that manner. And the one thing I wanted to impart upon everybody was that, and I talked about it last year, this is like family to me. There are people that are close to my family that I look at and I see Billy Mack sitting over here. I see Nick. I see the guys that my dad has helped. I see Tim Cates and I see Vasse. Well, I didn't get the chance to say hi to Vasse. I kind of kicked him in the ankle a little bit when he walked in. But Petros is here. There's a lot of people here. I see Brian sitting back there, Ilo. And I've watched their careers grow, and I've watched these men grow up and have families and be able to give the same thing back to the people that, that gave to them. So it's a real pleasure just to be up here. I'm super humbled and super honored to be here and be sitting here with you guys and be able to come up here and speak for my dad. And, with that being said, I know that, when I had spoke with the recipient of the award, the lady that's going to be receiving it here, I talked to her about that family and that environment. This thing will get the chance to change her life. I'm not even involved in broadcasting other than being the spotter for UCLA football with Josh, Matt, Wayne, and Nick. But, here I am giving an award, And I remember when my dad passed away, the news got out pretty quick, right when it happened. We were trying to keep it secret. And I woke up the next day, put on my iHeartRadio app. All of a sudden, I hear Steve Hartman talking about my dad passing away. And when you get that update, you got to make sure you keep that emotion in check when you give it over the airwaves. And I could hear the emotion, but I could hear the classiness and the everything that you've always brought, and you've always been a big part of our family. And congratulations on your award today and all the other people that have their awards and even the nominees. And with that, our winner is a senior at Cal State Northridge who's involved in multimedia production of sports at CSUN and hopes to continue in the business after graduating with a degree in broadcast journalism at the end of this next semester. Try saying that in one breath. The winner of the 2026 Southern California Sports Broadcasters Chris Roberts Memorial Student Scholarship is Miss Daniela Gomez.
Ooh, it's a little nerve-wracking. Okay. Funny thing, my professor always said, nerves are good, but she never told me it came with a sweater, too. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniela Gomez. I just want to say I'm truly honored to stand here today as a recipient of this scholarship. I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Peter Arbogast and Chris Roberts for this opportunity, as well as every member of the SCSB for investing in my future. This scholarship means more to me than just financial support. It represents encouragement, opportunity, and confidence in my abilities. I would also like to thank my professor, Linda Nunes, for considering me for this amazing opportunity. Once again, thank you all for your generosity and for making a meaningful difference in my life. I am truly grateful.
Next, the Southern California sports broadcasters are very pleased to bestow our Scully Lifetime Achievement Award on a man who's already a member of our Sportscasters Hall of Fame here, the great Jim Hill. A college football star in the state of Texas, a first-round draft pick in the NFL, played for the Chargers, the Packers, and Cleveland. His start in our business came as a DJ in Texas and then was a talk show TV anchor. It was really in San Diego where the sports world got a look at Jim Hill, a career that continued on when he got to Green Bay. After that, his work here on Channel 2 in LA, he did the NFL on CBS, some quality play-by-play, spent a few years at Channel 7, Super Bowls, boxing, Olympics. If it happened in Southern California, Jim Hill was there. And usually, at least in my experience, when we go to a press conference, there's always that guy in a press conference in Washington, D.C. There's that remember the old woman? I forget her name now, but they would always ask her, you got the first question. Whenever I go to a press conference in Southern California, Jim Hill gets the first question all the time. It's great. Inducted into the Sportscasters Hall of Fame here in 2010, he's won the LA Press Club Lifetime Achievement Award, even has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Plus, he and his staff have won a dozen awards here as the best sports anchor team on TV in Los Angeles. We all know him from seeing him in our living rooms and on our smart devices, but his other work is super impressive. In the community, he's been on the boards of directors working in helping develop youth programs all around Southern California and with the Watts Summer Games. Always impeccably dressed, as if to show the rest of us who are newer and younger in this business how to carry ourselves. And personally, Jim, I feel this is maybe the most important thing on your resume. Your desire to mentor young and upcoming sportscasters throughout our area and beyond, giving so many the chance to shine on what others might think is his stage. Believe me, there are more than a few people sitting in this audience today, including a soon-to-be Hall of Famer, who have been given a good, healthy step up from this gentleman. Here to impart more wisdom about Jim, the winner of the Radio Play-by-Play Award from earlier today, please welcome back the voice of the Lakers, John Ireland.
Thank you, Pete. In 1995, I got my big break. I was a TV sportscaster in San Diego. I got a job in Los Angeles at KCBS KCAL, and my mentor at the time said, remember two things. He said, stay humble and don't get outworked. So my first day on the job, King's Media Day, starts at 11. I said, all right, I'm gonna get there before anybody else. And I walk in at 9:30 and there's Jim Hill in a suit right there. I went, okay. My second assignment, Lakers Media Day the next day. It starts at noon. I said, well, if Jim is getting there, I got there 90 minutes, I'm gonna go 2 hours early. And I get there at 10 o'clock. There's Jim in a suit, ready to go. And he walks up to me and he introduces himself and he said, it looks like we share a similar work ethic. And I consider it to be the best compliment I've ever received as a sportscaster because nobody works harder than this guy. 8 o'clock in the morning, there's a story, there's Jim. 11:30 at night, there's a story, there's Jim. And Pete talked about all the ways that he's helped so many other people. Steve Hartman, and congratulations, Steve, will be up here to assume his rightful place in the Hall of Fame. Steve and I were in the market, and Jim said, hey, come on TV and just talk sports with me. And he launched Steve and I. And he's done it for so many people. And Pete talked about how helpful Jim is and how much he helps other people. I have 100 stories of Jim helping people, but I'm going to narrow it down to one so then we can get Jim up here. I have an autistic son. He understands some things, doesn't understand others. So he was studying Civil War history, and they were trying to teach him about the Freedom Train. And for those of you who don't know, the Freedom Train was slaves were in the South, and people that wanted to free them would hide them in their houses, and they would hop from Georgia to South Carolina, and they would hide them until they got to the north so they could be free. And my son, Jack is his name, wasn't getting it. And I was trying to explain to him, and he had a friend named William who was black, and he played with him every day. I said, okay, Jack, you know how you play with William every day? He goes, yeah. He said, I said, in the Civil War, black people weren't allowed to play. They always had to work all the time. And so they were freed on this freedom train, and they got up to the north where they were allowed to be like you. And I'm looking at his eyes, and I can tell he's not getting it. And then a light bulb goes off, and his eyes fly open. He goes, Dad. I go, yeah. He goes, we got to get Jim Hill on that train. And that's what Jim brings out in people. He's so helpful that you just root for the guy. And he's the hardest working sportscaster I have ever seen and is ridiculously deserving of this award. Please help me welcome the great Jim Hill.
Lies, lies, lies. They'll get you in trouble every time. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Del Strito from CBS 2 and KCAL 9, who runs our news department. I am completely overwhelmed by the events surrounding this day. When I was trying to think of something coherent to say today, it was close. I didn't decide on it until I just walked up here today. But then what came to mind was a statement by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, giving back to your fellow mankind is one of the most noble things anyone can do. And what could be more noble than helping our young people? Times are tough for us. Can you imagine what it's like for them? For some of them, it's almost impossible for them to live, much less succeed. There's a saying that I have at the station that I firmly believe in, and it goes, I believe in God and human decency, and I firmly believe that any man's finest hour to total fulfillment, to all that he holds dear, is that moment he lies on the field of battle exhausted yet victorious. By late Green Bay Packer coach Vince Lombardi. We've got some tough times that we've gone through, and there's some more difficult times ahead. But with people like everyone that's in this room today, we're going to get over it, and get over it faster than most people think. Thank you for giving me this wonderful privilege. I am in awe and completely blown away. God bless you and keep the faith.
Jim. There you go. We're going to walk here and take a picture.
Before we get to the Call of the Year award, just another quick anecdote about the work ethic of Mr. Jim Hill. One year when UCLA was in the Final Four in Indianapolis, it happened to be that Jim and I were on the same flight back to Los Angeles from Indianapolis. First flight out. And we land in LA, and I go straight home, and I'm exhausted. and I fall asleep with the TV on. When I woke up, the first thing I saw on that TV was Jim Hill doing a live shot from Dodger Stadium, looking like he had just gotten back from a 6-month vacation. And I think all of us in this room have stories like that about Jim Hill's work ethic. The Call of the Year Award is a fairly new award presented by the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Association. Contrary to popular belief, the first Call of the Year award was not presented to Chick Hearn for his call of Wilt Chamberlain's 20,000th date. Instead, it was presented to Vin Scully in 2017. Unfortunately, this was a down year for Shohei Ohtani. This year, only 38 of his highlights were considered as nominees for the Call of the Year award. But we have whittled it down to 4 finalists. And while Shohei and our other great athletes in Los Angeles are the authors of those great moments, it's the voices in this room that make those moments unforgettable and make them stand the test of time. So please direct your attention to the screens for our 4 finalists for this year's Call of the Year award.
El tercer down más enorme de la noche. Herbert toma el snap. Se abre por derecha, tiene todo el carril.
Siga,
y va a seguir corriendo a la 50. Se desliza a la 45. Primera y 10. Puro charge power. Puro príncipe azul.
Esa era. Así había que ganar este partido. Y acá dándole chocolate de su propia medicina a los Kansas City Chiefs.
They get it into Reeves. Here we go. This is your game. 5 seconds left. They set the screen, Michael. You didn't want him to do that. Reeves gets loose. Runner in the lane. Good! At the buzzer! The Lakers win it on Austin Reeves. Running bucket at the buzzer. He did it again. Reeves continues to come up big when the game is on the line.
Lanzamiento, saque elevado profundo al jardín central. Este hombre dice, sayonara. Hay que quitarse el sombrero y más. Hay que darle a esas tamboras japonesas porque este hombre está removiendo todo lo que se llama el Dodger Stadium y el mundo beisbolero con su tercer cuadrangular del juego de hoy.
Yamamoto's 0-2 coming to Kirk. Broken back, ground ball. Betts has it, steps on the bag. The throw to first, double play! From backs against the wall to back. The Dodgers cement their dynasty. They win Game 7 in extra innings. 5 for the final.
And the Call of the Year award goes to Steven Nelson. Dodgers win the World Series.
First and foremost, thank you. This whole day is silly to me because, you know, being a Southern California kid, growing up in this community, I was raised by this community. You know what I mean? You know, I remember being an intern running scripts out to Steve Hartman on the desk at KTLA. I remember bugging Johnny Allers to come on my Chapman News show. Being an intern under Billy Mack at Fox Sports West and Prime Ticket, and I still consider myself that kid. And I think everybody in this room can all speak to the fact that this business, I mean, what percentage is really luck, right? And for me, it's 110 because there are so many broadcasters, far more experienced, certainly more talented, and I'm just riding coattails with the Dodgers, and I'm just so blessed to do that. Real quick, I want to shout out Dwayne McDonald, who's the producer and engineer for our broadcasts on AM 570. And he has to deal with my clown self yelling in his ears more often than anybody should, and Colin Yee back in studio, and David Vassay, and Charlie Steiner and Tim Neverett. But it really comes back to Rick Monday. I got to talk about Mo because he just turned 80 years young, and he's called more baseball games than anybody in the last 20 years, and it's not close. No signs of slowing down. Game 1 of spring training, last day of the season for the Dodgers, maybe takes a series or 2 off. And he is obviously an exceptional broadcaster, voice from God, and he's become a terrific friend. And on this day, we have the Godfather here, Jim Hill, who makes us look and smell bad. Every day pops into the booth like, damn it, I got to step my game up because Jim. But I take myself back to being that college kid and bugging Jim at the Sports Spectacular at Cedars-Sinai, and you treated me the same way that day as you do even now. And so every flower that we hand to you today, I thank you so much for all you've done and continue to do. We're all indebted to you. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, Dodgers Call of the Year, Steven Nelson, congratulations. Moving on to another very important category, the Irv Kays Award for Best Radio Talk Show. And one of my early jobs, I went to UC Irvine as a graduate. You'd try to call around to find stations that would run local high school football. And one of the stations we would call was KIEV out in Glendale to see if we could clear the air. I think we got a couple of playoff games out there when Loyola was in the playoffs. But Irv Kays had the talk show at the time at KIEV. He is whom this award is named for. And without any further ado, we'll bring you the finalists. Are Tim Cates, Dodger Talk. Petros and Money, AM 570. And David Vassay, well, I guess Tim is the Dodger pregame. David Vassay is Dodger Talk. So David Vassay for Dodger Talk. And this year's Irv Kays Award goes to the pride of CSUN, David Vassay. Second time presenting you this award, man. Thank you. Congratulations.
Man, thank you so much. I am just honored to be here because I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I did attend Notre Dame High School, went to Cal State Northridge, grew up listening to the same legends that we've mentioned already, Chick Hearn, Vince Scully, Bob Miller, Don Drysdale, can't forget him, and grew up listening to Dodger Talk after games, listened to Laker Line, actually won a bag from Chick Hearn calling into Lakers Line from the sports section in Inglewood. Grew up watching Jim Hill. Man, the star of Rockies right there. I don't know about Stallone, but the star's right there. Steve Hartman, what an incredible career as well. You deserve everything that you get today and beyond. So congratulations to you as well. And I'm just a part of a village at AM 570 and grateful at Sportsnet LA. I'm just a villager in the village. Very lucky to have people that I work with like Petros and Money, Tim Cates, and Brian Long, who's our new program director. He treats us like human beings and is very kind, so we've loved having you for a year. And Stu Mitchell, same thing. You treat us with kindness and dignity at Sportsnet LA, so thank you to all my teammates. And Petros, you know I love you. Maybe next year.
So Deb Carson's going to come up next.
background. Well, as David Vassay and Stephen Nelson have already pointed out, as have many of you, we are blessed with an enormity of riches here in Southern California, particularly in the two categories I am presenting today. If we can turn on the television broadcast of any of our fabulous Southern California teams, the teams are great, and the people calling the games are phenomenal, some of the best in the business. So without further ado, I will start with the award for the Best Television Analyst. The finalists are Oral Hershiser from the Dodgers, Eric Karros, Dodgers, and Stu Lance with the Lakers. And the award goes to Oral Hershiser, Los Angeles Dodgers. That's only fitting, right?
Yeah, as Joe Davis's seat warmer sometimes on TV, I'll accept this for the Bulldogs. So, hey, Sportsnet LA, we break the first rule of sports broadcasting. Jim Hill does get the first question, so we got to clean that up, Kirsten. We got to figure out. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you.
And the Bob Miller Award for Best Television Play-by-Play. The finalists are Joe Davis of the Dodgers, Bill McDonald with the Lakers, and Nick Nixon with the Kings. And the Bob Miller Award goes to, well, this is fitting, Nick Nixon with the Los Angeles Kings.
I'm not Nick Nixon. I only wish I was, but it's an honor and a pleasure to be here today, represent Nick. Nick's back home mourning the loss of his mom that passed away a couple of days ago. So on behalf of Nick, first of all, I want to congratulate all the nominees and all the winners today. I know that he's very proud of this association. So on his behalf, congratulations to everybody, and thank you for this award. I've had the great seat of working alongside him for a number of years, and I know how great he is, so receiving this on his behalf is truly a pleasure. And again, congratulations to Nick and all the winners today, and have a great day. Thank you.
For a long time, too long to be sure, our organization was far too Los Angeles-centric, virtually ignoring Orange, San Diego, and the Inland Empire counties, as well as perhaps Ventura and parts north. Better late than never, however. For induction into the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Hall of Fame, we give you longtime voice of the Anaheim Ducks, Steve Carroll. Hey, slow the jets, man. Just relax. Now in his 50th year of professional sportscasting, he started in 1976 calling JC basketball games. Who hasn't? He's also called the action for 4 different minor league baseball teams. Yeah. Worked in the soccer world and called games for the Vanderbilt basketball team. But it is for his work with the Mighty Ones that he is being honored. He has been the voice of the Ducks since before the turn of the century, just past career game 2,000. That's pretty good. He's worked with 4 different color analysts, called the Stanley Cup championship team in 2007 with Brent Severin, then teamed up with Dan Wood from 2009 to 23, a coupling that made their hockey games so brightly entertaining. That is to say, it was hockey with some fun along with personality tossed in. He's called games for 6 Ducks division championship teams, is only the 3rd ever radio voice of the Mighty Ducks. I don't think they call them the Mighty Ducks anymore, but anyway. Here to say more about our newest Hall of Famer is the president, and he has been with the team, I understand, for 30 years. Please welcome the president of the Anaheim Ducks, Mr. Aaron Tietz. See, Steve, you might as well go back and sit down.
Thank you, Pete. If you know anything about Steve, it doesn't surprise me that he's first to every bus, everything, always early. So he's very much following in the footsteps of Jim Hill and the work ethic. So we're super excited to be here. There's a lot of Ducks contingency in the back. So I want to at least congratulate all the nominees and the award winners, and particularly Table 14 in the back. You need to rethink things. If you're at Table 14 and you haven't won an award, you might need to rethink things. Today we get a chance to honor a man who's become inseparable for the moments, memories, and milestones of Ducks hockey. As a broadcaster whose career spans half a century, as Pete mentioned, whose passion for calling live sports has never wavered. Steve's journey in broadcasting began in 1976 in Flat River, Missouri, calling play-by-play for the Mineral Area Junior College men's basketball. When started as a first opportunity, quickly became a lifelong calling. From that moment forward, Steve, who is a proud St. Louis native, set out on a career that would have him living in 9 different states, calling games nearly the entire country, and into virtually every corner of American sports. Along the way, he managed a feat few can match, broadcasting games in every U.S. state except Alaska and Idaho. So we'll have to get that done here, Steve, before too long. Over the decades, Steve has called games at both the collegiate professional levels across multiple sports and at nearly every rung of the ladder. His baseball resume alone, which started early in his career, includes Nashville Sounds, Huntsville Stars, Iowa Cubs, and it goes on and on. In the mid-1990s, Steve somehow found time to do what most of us would consider impossible, broadcasting for 5 teams in 3 sports in Nashville while also freelancing for a newspaper. His work included the Nashville Knights of the ECHL and Vanderbilt University basketball, football, both on radio and on television. It was just another example of his tireless work ethic and his love for the craft. Steve's hockey career is equally remarkable. Before arriving with us here at the Ducks, he served as a radio play-by-play announcer for the Philadelphia Flyers in 1995 and 96, and called games in the AHL with the New Haven Nighthawks, spent 4 seasons with the Des Moines Buccaneers of the United States Hockey League, and he later handled play-by-play roles for the New Orleans Brass of the ECHL. You got around, Steve. While also contributing in a staff role in communications, media relations, corporate sales. Because if you know Steve, that is not my job, is not in his vocabulary. He joined us here at the Ducks for the 1999-2000 season. He's been here ever since. And in those years, his voice has become a soundtrack of Ducks hockey. Steve is currently in the midst of his 27th season with us here at the Ducks, and as the play-by-play voice of the Ducks, has called more than 2,000 regular season games, as Pete mentioned, accomplishing that this past December. He was there for it all, calling our unforgettable Stanley Cup championship run in 2007, the dramatic Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals in 2003, 6 division titles, multiple Western Conference titles. Through every high, every low, his voice has carried clarity, credibility, and a genuine love for the game, and certainly for our franchise. And while broadcasting resume alone earns him a place in this esteemed room in the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Hall of Fame, those who know Steve best know there's more. What many in this room don't realize is he could have made an equally impact on the professional eating circuit. I have personally witnessed Steve devour a 64-ounce steak that was meant for 4, all the while insisting it comes with potatoes, and took down the dessert following it. So there is urban legend. Steve will tell you that he once took down a 92-ounce steak with all the fixins, and as a flex on the way home from that meal, decided to stop off at Kentucky Fried Chicken for a 3-piece. That's urban legend. I'll let Steve let us know how accurate that is. But He was also lifelong and has loved professional wrestling, and highlighted by his interviews with The Miz and Eve at Ducks games a few years back. Probably interviews that I'm sure that Steve would consider some of his best in his career. And who could forget in 2003, the playoff game with the Dallas Stars. Steve, that year, was doing the game solo, and in that 2003 playoff game, managed to work the fourth longest game in NHL history. And Steve logged a 6-hour and 33-minute broadcast by himself, and probably set records to the fastest bathroom breaks and the Dallas press box as well. But so for 50 years, Steve has done what the very best broadcasters do. He's been informed, entertained, and elevated the moments that matter most. And he has been steady, prepared, passionate, and unmistakably authentic. And above all, he has always made time to be a terrific ambassador for our club. And for that, Steve, I personally thank you very much, as does the rest of our Ducks Nation. So today we get to celebrate not just a career, but a legacy. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to introduce what is now a Sports Broadcaster Hall of Fame, the radio and also now streaming voice of the Anaheim Ducks, a true professional in every sense of the word, Mr. Steve Carroll.
Might have a few tears here. This is new to me. He was right. I did all that. Can you believe that? No, it's been something of lifelong ambition to be able to do what I've done. Sorry, like I said, I've not had to do too many of these things. I'm pretty good at some other things speaking, but if I lose it a little bit, I hope you bear with me, because this is pretty important that you did something that made the team successful. And the other thing that I try to do over the years is get involved in a lot of different projects with young people, talking, speaking around different parts of the country in those 9 states, and just trying to help out people that don't have a good life like we do here. And that's a big part of why I'm still in this business too. The people in hockey are tremendous. The people in baseball are too. You name the sport. I've been in a little bit of everything at the college level, even the high school level, and it's been a dream come true. I had really no help at the beginning because I was looking for work coming out of broadcast school. And I thought, I'm guessing I'm going to have to sell myself. And fortunately, a radio station in St. Louis, KADI, with Gary Records Brown. He was the head guy with the oldies format, and he asked me to come in. They were building part of a new radio station, OJ13, The Juice. And it was all about disco music, kids music under 20. So he put me on the air like at 2 o'clock to 6. And then 2 days later, he said, we want you to come back and work 2 shifts. So I worked the 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. shift, went home for a little bit, came back. And then that kind of led to some other things, working at some nightclubs in St. Louis. And then I got a chance to work at 4 different stations in St. Louis doing sports coverage, like pro football. They had a pro football report out of Dallas, Texas. I did some work for them for about 2 seasons, and then the college football scene was there. And later on, I had to decide, what do I want to do, really? Do I want to do football, baseball, hockey? I said, why not do them all? I love what I do. I always have. So I ended up, after that, spending some time on the East Coast. I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I can tell you a truthful statement. I worked for 7 teams during the season, and that's because of my love of it, first of all. Second, the money wasn't all that great. To be honest with you, doing one sport, so I had to work 6, 7 to make a living. Honest to God, and this is going back about, 30, 35 years, but I loved what I've always done. I love it. I love being around the people, and I couldn't ask for a better group of people than the ones with the Ducks. I can tell you that right now. Susan and Henry Samueli are terrific owners, and the staff there, Aaron, Merritt are here. It's just unbelievable. You can go in there, you can joke around, you have some fun, and I think over the years we've been blessed with a pretty good hockey team, being in a couple of Stanley Cup finals and things like that. But I just wanted to run through this because you might find this hard to believe. In fact, I forget it sometimes, but my career started in St. Louis, basically, but I worked in Nashville, I worked in New Orleans, I worked in Huntsville, Alabama. How about that? Doing AA baseball and college hockey. The New Orleans Brass of the East Coast League was with the Flyers for a while. Nashville Knights, University of Alabama at Huntsville Hockey, the New Haven Nighthawks of the American League, and Des Moines Buccaneers U.S. Hockey League, and I loved it all. Couple of soccer teams, the New Orleans Storm, the Lewis and Clark Community College team, and got into the college basketball and football at Vanderbilt, and I ended up working 7 jobs there. And I'm not throwing this out at you to make it impressive of that. I loved doing this. This is what I wanted to do, and I didn't care if I didn't have time for anything else. I absolutely liked the broadcast part. And I can tell you this will blow your mind. In Nashville, Tennessee, I worked for the Nashville Knights Hockey Club and the Nashville Sounds baseball team. Then Larry Schmittou, I don't know if you know that name. He was the general manager and participated with a lot of the Nashville sports. Terrific guy, and he was unbelievable to me. He said, you go do that as long as you're here for this. And there was a Music City Jammer team that came into town from the Global Basketball League, and I caught on doing a portion of their schedule. But I also worked for the 2 newspapers, the Tennessean and the Nashville Banner, because we travel with teams as much as we do. They probably wanted to save a little bit of money by sending their guy there, so I was the guy that ended up getting the quotes in the locker room afterwards. And just being a part of that was great, because what it did for me was when you had new players come in or new management, whatever it might be, I got to know them a lot better. And it kind of set the scene for, okay, now we know about you, I know about you. The coach, he says, I don't want to do anything tonight. That's fine, but I learned a lot by doing the newspaper, and I tell you this, I have so much respect for newspaper people in this business, especially the sports writers that travel with the team, because when you're with a team that's not very good, and I've been on a few of them, it's tough to write about things, and then you have to be careful as a PR director, because in the minors, you're doing everything. Game night operations, selling season tickets, checking on young kids that are members of families that are season ticket holders. And that's the one thing that I really enjoy too. They kept me busy. And as you can tell, I hope I have shown a lot of enthusiasm here, because everything I've done has been fantastic. I just love it. I love it being around people. And these people were kind to me. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go and do something for them. And that's basically how I work and how I've been through all of this. And to wind up here is like dream come true. It really is, because you've worked your whole life in the minor leagues, basically, and for 14, 15 years. You don't know if you're going to make it, right? And you get a break, and then you better hang on to it. And then if you want to move on somewhere else, you make as much reference, some contacts with people. And I tell a lot of the young kids that it's probably best to, if you were interested in baseball or hockey or whatever it might be, even pro basketball has the minor leagues, so to speak, in the college ranks, but to go and get some experience. There's nothing wrong with going to high school, if you're a newspaper guy, covering that for a while, going in, getting interviews, calling games at a station in a town of 200. I've been in that station situation too. But all in all, I can't tell you I've had a really bad moment in this business. And this is 50 years. In fact, it might be a year or two more than that there. I think they're being kind to me there. But it's been tremendous. And to be involved and to be a part of something like this is unbelievable, because I tell you, this city, and we travel a lot, has the best sportscasters on TV, They have the best play-by-play people on radio. This is my personal opinion. And when I come home, I realize that, you know what? This has been a pretty nice place to be because you learn from everybody. You hear the way guys call games, and you pick up certain things. I'm not stealing anything from anybody, but you know what? You find little things you can do to make the broadcast more enjoyable. And in the game of hockey in particular, it's a fast game. You can't take your eyes off the puck because if you do, it might be in the net twice for that matter. But it's been a lifelong dream to do something like that. And a lot of it is because, like I said, I wasn't good enough to be an athlete. But to be around people like I've been around and be involved with other things, just like helping out people, or they put on all these events to raise money in these different teams I've worked for. And when you go and you MC those events, you realize how lucky you are, and you realize that, you know what, you have a chance to help somebody here. Because I've gone through some things with my family of late, and it helps. It helps to make the connections in that. So I've been blessed totally, and I want to tell you this story too. I have to tell you about my meeting my wife. This is crazy. I had no plans on ever getting married. Never. I was going to do this for a living. If I lost my voice or something, I'll find something else to do. Just a passion for what I do. And this is down in New Orleans. I got a job there with the new East Coast Hockey League franchise, the New Orleans Brass. I'd never worked in New Orleans. And I was in charge of like each of the departments, you know, whether it's season tickets, program ads, and again, you do it all and you get used to it. And I think it's a benefit to do that, especially if they're thinking about getting rid of you as a broadcaster if they don't like you. Think about it. But I went there one night. I was exhausted. I think those type people I have so much respect for in this business at all levels because they work their butts off. They work 7 days a week most of the time during the regular season or playoffs. And I happened to just go down to one of the marketplaces there. I was hungry, and there's some pretty decent food down in New Orleans. It's pretty good. I lived at one place almost 3 or 4 days a week, but I survived it and started working out right after that. But I went to a place, and I was walking out because I was kind of exhausted. We had to be in at work like at 7 a.m., and this is when they're building the new arena down there. And I was fortunate enough to get a job, but then they put you in positions or places where you're working 4 or 5 jobs. You're not just the broadcaster, you're the PR guy, you're out selling tickets, advertising, things like that. But had the experience, so it didn't matter. So I'm leaving this place, and I think my wife knows all of this. If she doesn't, she'll know it now. But a friend of hers was in there. I had no idea who was in there or whatever. I ate, and I'm walking out, and this gal comes up, and she says, "Aren't you the guy that does some of the hockey stuff?" I goes, "Yeah." And we just start talking. She goes, "Can you tell me about the team and things like that?" I said, "Sure." So we talked for about 20, 30 minutes. So I'm leaving, and she calls me back, and she said, "I got a friend. You and her would be perfect for one another." And so the scene was set, and oh, by the way, she's on her way to join me here. I said, "I got to go to work in the morning. I can't stay here." So I'm walking out. I got a cab, walking out, and I open the door of the cab, and there in another cab, she walks out. Rest is history. I mean, I'm pretty fortunate when you hear about things like that. And I've been single all my life, and it's probably the best thing that happened to me. She's a great person. I just want to thank everybody for all of this. I brought up all this because I'm thinking they're not going to want to listen to all these places I've been, but it's true. I love what I do. Hopefully I can be around here for a few more years, but we have a great group of talented people here, and I'm just glad that I was invited here and to receive this. Can't tell you enough how much I appreciate it, and I know quite a few of the people in here. Thank you, and I hope I didn't bore you with anything, but this is just me talking. I'm all about just having a great career and just trying to do my best every day, and hopefully stay healthy the rest of the way too. So thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us today. We're getting closer toward the end here, but we've still got a few more awards to give out. The first award that we're going to give out here is for those that help us tell the story maybe from a different perspective, people on the sideline who can help provide a better context maybe than some of us in the booth. And the finalists for our Best Live Game Reporter Award are Wayne Cook, UCLA football, Jordan Moore, USC football, Mike Trudell from the Lakers, and Kirsten Watson from the Dodgers. And the award goes to Kirsten Watson from the Dodgers.
Wow. First and foremost, what an honor and a privilege it is to be here with you all this afternoon, just to be in this room. I did not grow up here in Southern California. I actually grew up in Orlando, Florida as a top volleyball player. I had the privilege to go to almost anywhere I wanted to. And at that time, I started watching College Game Day, and I saw whether it was Erin Andrews, Samantha Ponder, or I think most importantly, Maria Taylor, a woman who looked like me on that screen. I finally had a vision of what I could be and who I could be in life. And to come here to Southern California, to Los Angeles, where all of my wildest dreams have come true, to have the privilege of, with Spectrum and Sports at LA, whether it was high school football, college basketball, getting the South Bay Lakers the call up to be the second person for the Los Angeles Lakers, covering a show called Lake Show, to then get the ultimate phone call of, we want you to be the sideline reporter for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I never knew where it was going to take me, and it has been one of the most exciting, one of the most challenging, but also one of the most rewarding journeys. So to my team, whether it's on the actual game broadcast side, so our producer Mike Levy, for our bosses, Lon Rose, and all of them for believing in me, that has been huge, whether it's Joe Davis, Oral Hershiser, Steven Nelson, to have those as teammates is truly the dream, for your patience, for your kindness, for your leadership, and just for your support. To our pre- and post-game crew, Stu, you are someone who has been one of my biggest supporters, so I thank you so much, John, for showing me the ropes, whether it's the sideline, filling in for you as the host. It's truly been such a pleasure. To the AM 570 crew, you guys also helped me find my voice in a totally different way, so I am so grateful. I'm so honored, and this is just, I don't take this lightly, so thank you so much for all of your support.
All right, and our last award is for the groups that we see on our TVs every night. The Gil Stratton Award for Best TV Anchor Team. And the finalists are the Dodgers on Spectrum Sportsnet LA, KABC Sports, and KCBS KCAL Sports. And the Gil Stratton Award goes to Dodgers on Sportsnet LA. Come back up, Kirsten.
Wow, this is really cool to be in this room with so many people. I can echo a lot of the sentiments of others who stood up here as someone who grew up in Southern California and grew up watching Jim Hill when I was, 8, 9 years old. It's been a minute, Jim. He's giving me the icy stare right now. So much that makes our team so special in sports in LA. It's all about the people. I know the team is great, and that helps us do a better job probably on a night-to-night basis. But I want to turn the mic over to this man right here because other people have mentioned him. Stu Mitchell is the true engine that makes our station run. He's the babysitter of Jerry Hairston Jr. He's constantly texting him and emailing him saying, you have to work today, not tomorrow. The show's at noon. It's at 4 o'clock because he needs that in his life. So I want to have Stu Mitchell, the true engine of our network, be the one who shares his thoughts. and the award.
I was going to turn the mic over to John if I had spoke first, because he's been kind of my day one from the day we started as a network. First of all, I have so much respect for everyone in this room. I know that the sports media business is going through something nationwide. Everybody in here works their tail off every day. I see you all on TV. I know some of you. Just so much respect for everybody in here, because the things that we do, despite not knowing where our future may be at any given time with any station, network, or whatever, is pretty awesome. I've worked with Scott Van Pelt, Chris Berman, a lot of people at ESPN for 20 years, and there is no one that works harder and that I enjoy working with more than this guy. So I was going to hand the mic off to him, but he handed it off to me. But we're in this together. So many people back at the station that aren't here today that are working on Lakers and Dodgers shows, off day in the Lakers game tonight. Our whole crew works their tail off, just as everybody in this room does. And I can't thank everybody enough, and especially John. So thank you for this.
There's very little that can be said about Steve Hartman that he has not already said about himself. Here to try about our 2026 Southern California Sports Broadcasters Hall of Famer, please welcome 1999 Pro Football Hall of Famer, Eric Dickerson.
Thank you. This is going to be about 30 minutes, so you might as well just relax a little bit. No, I'm not going to take long, really. First of all, Steve Ward Hartman, born July 4th, 1958 in Hollywood, California. He hosted multiple national shows from Fox Sports Network Edition to Sports Anchor, KTLA TV in Los Angeles. He had all similar positions on KCBS, KCAL, and from 1999 to 2010. For more than a decade, Hartman served as a writer, executive broadcaster, and covered 26 Super Bowls, 16 Final Fours, and 6 MLB playoffs games. Look, I'm going to say this much here. I'm not going to read the stuff about Steve because I know Steve. I'm just going to talk about Steve as I know him as a person. You know, Steve and his family, I know his family very well. I watched his kids grow up. And one thing I know about Steve, and like when I think about myself as an athlete, we athletes, I'm just going to say it, we don't trust sometimes the sportscasters. We don't trust you. And then that's just facts. But Steve Hartman is a guy that I can trust. Steve Hartman is a guy. Matter of fact, I called Marcus Allen before I came over here. I said, Marcus, what do you think about Steve Hartman? He said, we could trust Steve. He worked for the Raiders. We could trust him. That's important. I can tell you that much as a former player. One thing, you guys talk about us and make us great on the radio, make us sound great, and we thank you for that. But the most important thing for an athlete is trust. I can tell you that. To trust the guys you talk to. If I tell Steve something, if I tell you something, he can hold it. Steve was that guy. Steve is a guy that he doesn't just love sports. He has like a romance with it. That's how I look at it. I could ask Steve, I say, Steve, when the Lakers played in Game 6, when they played the Sacramento Kings, who hit the winning shot? He'd know right away. I said, Steve, in 1955, when the Dodgers won the first World Series, what year was that? I know he'd say, what, 1954? I mean, I'd be guessing. I said, who was the MVP? He'd know. That's when you know you have a romance with something. It's like when I played football. I loved everything about football. I loved going out to practice. I loved putting the uniform on, the way it made me feel. That is how you know that you have a true romance with something. And I can say for a fact, Steve Hartman has had a true romance with sports. And he deserves most definitely to be in the Southern California Sports Hall of Fame. I want to say, Steve knows me very well. One thing about me is I don't wear this jacket. I just don't. I mean, I don't wear it for different reasons. I just think it's just, I don't like to wear it. But for Steve Hartman, I took this jacket out today because he is a Hall of Famer, and I'm going to ask my friend, Steve Hartman, to come up here and accept his award for Sportscasters Hall of Fame and put on my Hall of Fame jacket and take his picture. So, like I said before, and I'll say it again, I'll say one more thing. My dad had a saying. He said, son, all that you do, do what you might. Things done by halves are never done right. And believe me, Steve Hartman did it right 100%. So come up here, Steve.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
E, I'm taking this coat off. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much. I know everyone here in this room knows Eric Dickerson as a Hall of Fame football player. I've had the good fortune of knowing him as a Hall of Fame person and a Hall of Fame friend. And E, I thank you so much for that. I'd also like to acknowledge another gentleman here in the room, along with his beautiful wife. Sonny Vaquera is here today. Sonny is someone that I've known for more than 30 years. He's been a champion for young athletes for years. This man belongs in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. That's long overdue, and I'm going to work to help you, much as I helped Eric finally get into the College Football Hall of Fame. First of all, for people that were standing, I know a lot of you were standing simply because of the fact you thought, damn, if Hartman's in the Hall of Fame, I got a shot. Like, really? Like Hartman in the Hall of Fame? You know, Billy Mack, I was here when you got into the Hall of Fame a couple years ago. You had a nice short speech, and I certainly don't want to prolong what hopefully is the rest of the day for you guys. But there are people I want to acknowledge, because I've heard the word thanks and I've heard luck. Are two operative words I've heard all day long. And there's a lot of thanks, and yes, there's a lot of luck involved to have as long a career as I've been blessed to have in this industry. When it comes to thanks, though, the real thanks for me comes from my family, the 5 people here that matter most to me, starting with my sister, Tina. Our parents have passed, but she has understood what I'm about, the stat geek from the Valley. The kid that was so consumed with inhaling every sports stat imaginable. And by the way, I don't stop. I'm still doing it all these years. But Tina, she came out from Iowa today to be here today, and thank you so much. I love you. Denise, where is Denise? There she is. Denise and I have had a long relationship over the years, and she's been a driving force in my career. When I met her, we were just struggling along as a little station down in San Diego, and it was like she was the good luck charm for me and for my cohorts at 690 back in the day. So thank you very much, Denise. I love you. And then the 3 most important people in my life are my children, my son Drake, my son Garrett, and my daughter Paris. These are the 3 people that matter most to me. They are my driving force in life, as I'm sure every parent understands exactly where I'm coming from. Thank you for allowing me to be your dad. I could not be more proud of all of you. All right, so when you talk about thanks, for me, my career came down to one moment. So I was this kid that memorized the back of every baseball card ever. You know, we all have like a gift. Like there's something about us that sets us apart. So they're like handing out gifts, right? And they're like, all right, Steve Hartman, your gift is you will memorize more sports stats than anyone in the history of mankind. Great. So how will I make a living? Good luck. Good luck. And so this is what I had to figure out from day one. But the moment that changed my life, I was working on the Daily Bruin at UCLA. Where are my fellow Bruins in here? Huh? Let's hear my fellow Bruins. Understand this, my dad went to USC. I was raised a Trojan. I became a Bruin. So that shows you my roots into this city. So I was sitting in the Daily Bruin office when the sports editor of the Daily Bruin got a phone call to come on a radio show that he did not want to go on. He turned to me. He's like, Hartman, you know how to talk. Can you go down to do this radio show? And it was a preview coming up to the 1978 USC-UCLA football game. I was 20 years old,
And I go down and I meet the host of the show, a man by the name of Bud Ferrillo. The Steamer was hosting this show, and they had the sports editor of the Daily Trojan, Michelle Himmelberg, first female sports editor in USC history. And Bud's a big USC guy, so he doesn't even know who I am. You're not even the sports editor? Like, who are you? So a phone call came in about Jerry Robinson, the great All-American linebacker at UCLA. And the caller asked Bud, do you think he has a chance to win the Heisman Trophy? And Bud said, well, the only non-quarterback running back that I can remember coming close was a couple of years ago, John Hicks, the offensive tackle at Ohio State. And I don't know what set me off, but I just jumped in. I said, well, actually, Bud, Kurt Burris, he was a center linebacker at Oklahoma. He was runner-up in 1954, and then Alex Karras was a two-way tackle at Iowa. He was runner-up in 1957, and then Tom Brown, he was a two-way guard at the University of Minnesota. He was runner-up in 1960. Bud looked at me. They went to commercial, and he says, don't you ever do that again. And pardon my language, but I'll just say what he said to me as I was leaving. He goes, I don't know how you know this shit, kid, but I might have a place for you. And so after I got out of UCLA, he hired me long before there was any internet. This was way back in 1982, and said, I'm just going to use your brain, kid. And that's what I did. That's how I got started. And then Bud Ferrillo, from that point, then called in a favor to his old buddy Al Davis and said, I've got a kid here. He was sports editor of the Daily Bruin. Get him on your staff with the LA Raiders. And that's what I did. So I worked for the Raiders for 4.5 years. I could sit here all day and give you Raiders stories. I've already given most of the people my Raiders stories in this room, so I'll save that. But then I quit my Raider job. He wasn't happy about that. I thought, well, maybe I should try something else. Maybe I should give up this sports thing and go, make some real money in the business. That was a big mistake. And so when I left that job, a non-sports job for 4 months, Bud brought me back to work on a radio show with him. There was no money. I didn't get a paycheck for 2 years. To say my parents were in a panic, I was 32 years old without a paycheck, single and just existing. And then Bud got a phone call from a man named John Lynch, the father of John Lynch that we know as the general manager of the 49ers. And he had a vision. WFAN Radio just launched in New York, and he said, I can do the same here in Southern California. So he wanted Bud Ferrillo. I mean, he was a known name. He had been on sports radio for years. But I get a phone call, and they said, you know what? We want you instead of Bud. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the Bud Ferrillo show. It's not the Steve Hartman show. Well, he wants a lot of money, and I'm sure we can get you cheap. So we will hire you instead. And as I sit here and look at the coach, John Quintera, when I think that a couple of months after I was hired on, we brought in a young guy named Jim Rome. And then a year later, a guy out of Toledo, Ohio named Steve Mason. John Ireland obviously joined our team. And we built, to this day, the greatest sports radio station that this country has ever known. And I know a lot of you listened to 690 back in the day, a lot of graduates of 690, and that's how my radio career started. And then there was the television side of it. I knew Jim Hill from my days working for the Raiders. And as we've talked about a lot with Jim Hill, hardest lurking man, he was the only local sportscaster that showed up every day at our complex in El Segundo. So I got to know Jim. He almost knew my name at that point. Almost. But then I get a phone call from someone working at the KCBS room. The NFL had returned to CBS, and they wanted to create a new show called Sports Central. And I came on voluntarily. I just drove up from San Diego to hang out with Jim, and eventually they said, would you like to do this on weekends? I had to clear it with Denise because that meant she was going to be home alone with the kids. I wasn't so bad about it. When you got little kids, you want to sort of get out of there. And for 12 years, I sat next to this man every Saturday and Sunday, hours upon hours. And it was always a privilege for me to turn in that awkward two-shot opening where I would say nothing, and he would say, along with my partner, Steve Hartman. And a great honor, Jim, and thank you very much. And by the way, 2 things I learned from Jim, and I hope you're not offended by this. He always told me, keep fooling him, and that's what you have to do sometimes in this industry. And also, Jim taught me the secret of slowing down the aging process, okay? So I've worked on that over the many, many years. The bottom line here is that I have been incredibly lucky to have the insane long career that I have. A couple of people I want to acknowledge as well. I want to acknowledge Brian Long, who after I got let go from my national radio show, gave me an opportunity to continue my career in San Diego. Brian, we had great 8 years down there, and I appreciate that because I was out of work and I needed that. I'd also like to thank my current family at KTLA. KTLA has had no less than 3 farewell dinners for me. Yes, I've had 3 separate farewell dinners, and I've just never left, you know? And this past year, I've worked a lot. David Pingalore is here. He is the face of KTLA Sports, and Ping, it's great to have you here. I'd also like to acknowledge the partners that I've had on radio these many years. And we mentioned Bud, but probably the most important on-air partner I ever had was Chet Forty. Chet Forty was a man that, of course, was a legend. He was the legend of Monday Night Football, producing and directing, and he got hooked up. He was trying to sort of get his life together, and they put him with me, and we just started screaming at each other every day. It's like screaming at each other. And I was just thinking, I'm going to have the shortest radio career of all time because no one's going to listen to this. But apparently people were listening, and they got hooked. And it was Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, who, by the way, belongs in this Hall of Fame, that coined the phrase, the loose cannons. And the loose cannons were born. And then there was Philly Billy Warndell after Chet's passing. And then I came to Los Angeles to work with Michael Thompson and Vic the Brick Jacobs. And then eventually nationally with Chris Myers, and then with Pat O'Brien. And then back to San Diego with Mike Costa and Rich Ornberger. And all the weekend people that I've worked in over the years, and the network has allowed me to work, including the man I work with right now, VJ Husky. VJ, thank you very much for your efforts right now. So to me, it's all been about working with people. You know, a lot of people always ask me this: is it easier to do a show by yourself or with somebody else? And the answer is it's actually easier to do it by yourself. Because when you work with somebody else, you want them to be as good as they possibly can be, because it's a team effort. And let's face it, life is a team effort. Everything we do in life is a team effort. And if you don't have the right team, you will not succeed. And I've had the right team, the great honor to have the right team in my life from the day I was born. I'd like to acknowledge one other person here, and that is Pete Arbogast. And the reason I mention Pete right now is that I had the good fortune of getting to know the founder of the Southern California Sports Broadcasters, Tom Harmon. He was the host of our weekly Raiders show when I worked for the Raiders. I got to talk to Tom Harmon all the time. You talk about a fascinating man. You know, Heisman Trophy winner at Michigan. This guy survived 2 shoot-downs during World War II. It was incredible. But he had a vision, and that's what I envision for the Southern California Sports Broadcasters. And Pete's efforts to carry on the great Chris Roberts, my compatriot for a couple of years on the UCLA broadcast, is commendable. So I look at this list of Hall of Famers, and I was lucky enough not only to grow up with them, but also to get to know them. And now it's on to the next generation. I'm not retiring, by the way. Never. I will never retire. But the next generation. It is important to keep the Southern California sportscasters alive, because I tell you this, we in this room, this is the greatest collection of talent from a sportscasting standpoint by far. Forget those you-know-whats on the East Coast. We own it here in Southern California. I could not be more proud. Thank you so much for this incredible honor. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Give me about a minute. 1 minute. Steve? Hey, Steve. They're not yours? No. Anybody missing any glasses? We got some up here. Before you go, a quick history lesson, and this is a very short story. In 1983, my godfather, Hal Uplinger, who helped invent instant replay, got a letter from Ted Turner at CNN Radio at the time, and he put together a team, my godfather did, at Pat Michael's old station in Corona, KWRM. And they gave us the radio station from 6 in the morning on Saturday until midnight on Sunday to put together an all-sports radio format. It had never been done before anywhere in the country. And we tried a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we found call-in people, and we found reporters at game sites. We tried everything that we could possibly try to get a good format together. And at the end, we all got fully credentialed at the '84 Olympics, which is a pretty good byproduct of this story. But the best part of this is that we finally got it done, and we thought we had a pretty good product. I don't think anybody's here today, but there are a lot of people that are alive that worked on this. And we gave the product back to Ted Turner at CNN. He was going to put it on CNN national radio, and he decided he didn't want to do it after all. He wanted to do the news network instead. So he did that, and he sold what we did to WFAN in New York, and they turned out to be the first full-time sports radio station in the United States. But don't think for a second that the first sports radio station in the United States wasn't Sports Radio Network at KWRM in Corona. That's where it really started. We're going to get out of here in just a second. As soon as the show is over and you hightail it out of here for your cars, we ask that all of the Hall of Famers who are here today and those new Hall of Famers that just got inducted to come up on the stage to take our annual group picture. It's a once in a lifetime moment, and we want to capture that moment for sure. Please don't ignore my emails to you. When I ask you to become a voting member, I will send them incessantly for the rest of the year, of course. We'll see you out at a ball game. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for entertaining us all year long and for all of our lives in this great and fun business. Take care of each other. Thanks again for being here. We'll see you next year. And will all the Hall of Famers please come up on the stage? Mr. Hill, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Ireland, if you can, Mr. Carroll. I got your glasses. You might. You might need these. I don't know.
Thank you so much.
John Ireland, Jim Hill, Billy McDonald, Bill.